Hello guys, welcome back to Our Vision Farm. We are so long overdue for an update. We just got our first set of chicks today. This is our first of many sets. We're gonna actually continue ordering chicks every 2 weeks from now. So this is our first 50 chicks that we ordered. There was a couple of ones that did not make it through the shipping process, and we have lost 2 ever since setting up in their brooder box. But they did spend quite a while. Today was actually the 3rd day in shipment, so usually we get chicks within 2 days. So I expected to lose a few. We'll probably lose a couple more of the weaker ones. But that's okay, that is expected and accounted for. We're gonna continue ordering about 50 chicks every 2 weeks until our season is over here in Maine, once it starts getting too chilly for them to be outside. So they're gonna be about 2 weeks here in the brooder box. Then we built a transition pen so we can move them outside. And then we also have some larger of the metal pens that we have to finish up wrapping in chicken wire and putting the tarp on top for the roof. And that's gonna be kind of like their the last pen that they're in before processing. But there they are. We're super excited to have them, and hopefully we have good luck with them here in Maine, because we did towards the end in Florida we closed up our meat chicken business, but it was always our intention to start it up again here in Maine once we were settled in to our new home. So we do have a lot of customers excited to start purchasing them from us, so we'll see how it goes, and we'll also be able to judge how many we have to order depending on the demand. So let's go outside and I'll give you an update on the gardens as well. There's a lot going on. Hubby is cutting the grass right now, so I'm going to try to avoid the areas he's in. But I wanted to show you updates on things we've transplanted and seeds that are growing in the garden. We haven't transplanted everything yet, but we've done a lot so far and it has been growing really good, so I want to show you. Our lupins, these are the wild lupins that just kind of popped up all over the property. They are so gorgeous. They are starting to bloom now, so I definitely love those. We did start some lupins by seed as well, but they're definitely not as big and established as these plants. Our honeyberries, we have been hardening them off for a while, and they've been doing really good. They got a little bit kind of like sunburned when we first started hardening them off, but so far they have been bouncing back. So we're getting ready to get those into the ground. We're trying to figure out exactly where we're going to start our honeyberry rows, where we're going to put our carmine jewel cherry trees, and also the kiwi berries. I feel like since all those are cold hardy plants, it is safe to go ahead and pick the spots and prepare the spots where we're going to plant those straight into the ground. So I know for sure honeyberries, we're going to start somewhere around here, and I was thinking the sour cherries somewhere here behind our flower garden, and still not sure on the kiwi berries. We're trying to figure out a spot for those, but let's go ahead and head in here. This is going to be our meat chicken area. So let me just get in here. The fence is not on right now, so I just squeeze in through here. So these are the metal pens that we're going to be finishing off. This is the pens that the chickens will be in when they are full grown and full sized. We got these from Amazon and just built them ourselves. They were very simple. I believe they were like 170 each or somewhere like that, maybe 150 each, and it came with everything you need to assemble them, plus the chicken wire and the tarp that goes on top. The chicken wire is definitely not like the most high quality and super sturdy wire, but we are keeping the chickens in electric fencing as well, so hoping that keeps at least some of the bigger predators away. We built this little hutch here just out of scrap materials. We were gifted the roofing material, and then we just use resalvaged wood from our property. We did buy chicken wire to cover this, but this is what the transition pen looks like. So after the chicks are too big for the brooder box, they go in here. Not sure for how long, just until they are bigger and a little safer to put them into the metal pens over here. So from there they'll go into here and they'll be split up into 3 different cages, so that'll give them plenty of space to spread out. And then by the time all that happens, we're already going to have more chicks in the brooder box, more chicks moving into the transition box, and just keep them in rotation throughout the whole season. This is what our garden is looking like so far. Not much, but you're starting to see a little more poking out. I did just sprinkle some cinnamon powder over my plants just to continue battling the bugs. We've been having problems with slugs a lot. If you have any recommendations on how to get rid of slugs, that is our main pest, and it's especially attacking any of our winter greens. It has completely decimated our Italian dinosaur kale. Now it's going after our other greens like mustard greens, collard greens, even the radish are missing little bites here and there. And every evening we check and we always find slugs. So we've tried garlic powder, cayenne powder. Today I tried cinnamon because I heard slugs don't like cinnamon. We set up some beer traps just to try to catch some of the slugs. I'm not sure if that'll work. I heard conflicting information on Google of some people having good results, some people not. But I did try it because I want to try everything. We've heavily dusted with DE powder. That does not seem to work at all. Maybe it does affect them, but we're still noticing like new damage even after applying the DE powder. And every time it rains, it all washes away, so we keep applying it. And we've been through basically a whole bag and still noticing pest damage. We did find little tiny black caterpillars on our lettuce, but the lettuce is not affected. So let me take you around the garden. So the little caterpillars aren't eating the lettuce, they're just kind of like cocooning themselves in it. So I smushed all of those by hand, and so far I haven't noticed any new ones, but I'm trying as much natural approaches as possible, so to try to minimize the pest damage. So far we have garlic. In between some of the garlics I planted onion, so you can't really see those unless I'm really up close. Over here we have a lot of pest damage on our kale. I also planted some marigolds in between all of the things heavily affected by the slugs to try to keep the slugs away. So I'll go all the way back here. We have a little bit bigger kohlrabi plants to show you. So this is what our kohlrabi is looking like right now, and we have them going down all the way across this line. This is nothing but just old tulips that we already harvested. This is what the alliums are looking like. These are supposed to flower at some point, but it seems like they're just now getting some growth on them, so that'll be interesting to see how those look. And I did plant, we had one day where I was hardening off my plants, and we left a tray of peppers and eggplants out. So let me show you over here. This is one of the pepper plants, I believe, heavily dusted with cinnamon. So a couple, like the heavy rainfall washed away all the dirt in the cell trays where we had these planted. So these were basically like bare root. So I decided to transplant a couple. So it's okay if we lose them, because we were going to wait a little bit longer till they got bigger to plant them in the ground anyway. But since those were uprooted from the heavy rainfall, we just decided to transplant just a couple of them and see how they do. So I have those sprinkled just about everywhere, but I don't have like any designated rows for eggplants or peppers quite yet. I have some onions here along where I'm walking. These don't seem to be doing as good as the ones that I planted in between the garlic. I think the area where I planted the garlic, the soil was a little bit better and more richer, because we did dump a lot of grass clippings and leaves over there in the fall time. So I think that soil was a lot better for the onions, where here, where we just didn't really add too much natural materials, they just seem to be a little bit weaker. These were also smaller transplants. So let's head over here. These are radishes. These I direct seeded, so this whole little lime green row is radishes. They're doing really good, but still getting pest damage, little bites missing. little holes from the leaves. But hopefully the actual radish part goes undisturbed and we're able to harvest some radishes. So all of these are radishes, and then to the left of those, this is how our collard greens are doing. They're getting a lot bigger. I feel like this is something else. This kind of looks like kohlrabi or maybe mustard greens that got mixed in. But the rest of these are collards. A little bit of damage on these, not too much though. So that's good. More radishes over here. And then let's skip to this row. This is our mustard greens. Mustard greens that we transplanted, and look how big they've gotten. I think since the last time I've made a video on these, they've gotten really big. Very little bits of holes, not as bad as the other things. So that row is mustard greens, transplanted. Okay, this row right here, I direct sowed carrot seeds. So let me try to find some so I could zoom in. Those are carrot seeds, and they're just kind of poking out like that all down the row. You can't see them from far away unless I really bend down and show you, but those were direct sowed in here, so they've been doing good. So that whole row is carrots. Right next to it are beets. So these are, I have planted two types of beets. One of them were red acre beets, I believe they were called. The other ones were Chioggia beets, and those are like the ones that are white and pink striped inside. So this whole row is beets, and this is the stage that they are on right now. All throughout the row, direct seeded again. These are the most recent mustard greens that I transplanted, so that's why they are smaller, but also doing good. It seems like the bugs don't like mustard greens too much, but if you get up close, you can see a little bit of damage, but it doesn't seem to be enough to really stunt their growth or anything. I'm gonna walk past the mustard greens. This whole row is not mustard greens. It does eventually turn into lettuce. So about halfway down, now we get to the lettuce. So these are butterhead lettuce. These are the ones that I said had little tiny black caterpillars trying to cocoon themselves inside the leaves. So I just kind of uncurled each leaf and squished the little black caterpillar that was in there. And then I'm going to keep my eye on them and do that as many times as possible. But all of this all the way to the end is lettuces that we transplanted, and they've been doing really good, surprisingly. It's been very warm. Yesterday was about 84 degrees, and usually lettuces don't do good in the heat. But I think our cool nights here in Maine definitely help. There's probably a new caterpillar in this one. But overall, they've been doing good, and the actual slugs haven't been messing with these. Next to the lettuce, we have some more radishes that I direct sowed not very long ago, and they seem to be popping up now. Yep, they're just now starting to germinate. So this whole row is radishes. Next to it, I gotta go check my little tag to see what I planted next to the lettuce. So let's go ahead and check that. Alright, so these most recently I sowed carrot seeds directly in here. Those are gonna take a while, just like that other row did. So next to those carrot seeds, I direct sowed cabbage seeds in here. I actually still have some cabbage seeds that I need to transplant, but they're still too tiny. But while we were waiting for those to get big enough to transplant, I planted this whole row in cabbage seeds about, I would say, like 10 inches apart from each other. So if they don't germinate, I can always plant something else in between the ones that didn't germinate, or plant some of my transplants. So that's pretty much where I have stopped so far. So we have from the ends over there where the garlic is all the way up to here planted with something. And we still have all these rows over here to fill up. I told my husband to stop making rows once he got to up to here, because I don't think we're gonna have enough plants to really fill in this whole entire garden. But we have a lot of rows to still work with. I told him to just leave this area blank, and we did plant something in here, so I'll show you. We did risk this by planting it so early because we are still at risk technically for a frost at any point. But these are watermelons. So we had just, I think, 2 Moon and Star watermelons that germinated. The rest are yellow petite watermelons. And I figured I'm gonna go ahead and plant them because we've been so warm. So I planted them a couple days ago. I've been keeping my eye on them. So every little nest looking thing that you see going down this row is a watermelon transplant. So my idea with those is that it'll just spread. We just put some grass clippings on this side to help control weeds, and probably gonna do the same to the right of them, and they'll just spread and take over this area because I don't think we're gonna have enough vegetable plants to reach all the way back here anyway. So I went ahead and did that, and they've been doing pretty good since I transplanted them and keeping them well watered. We did get some rain today, so that helped. So we'll see what happens. If we do get cold weather, I can always cover them with some dried grass clippings that we've been saving, or I'm not sure. I'll just heavily mulch them with something, blankets, or throw a bucket over them or something to try to keep them from frosting over if it is that we get a late season frost. I'm hoping we don't. I know last year I have heard that around June 2nd they got a frost last year around this area in Maine. So a lot of people and gardeners lost some crops because they planted. You're supposed to plant after Labor Day weekend or on Labor Day, not Labor Day, Memorial Day weekend is the tradition. But last year they got that random last minute frost that ruined a lot of people's crops because they did plant them in the ground. So hopefully that doesn't happen this year. I have been keeping track of the 10-day forecast, and it looks to have, we look to have a lot of good weather. No cold snaps or anything. The lowest it's supposed to get is around 45, maybe 44 degrees. And that is, I think, tomorrow night. And after that, it just keeps going up. So no risk of frost for the next 10 days. Fingers crossed that stays the same and does not change. So back here, what you're looking at is pumpkins. I do not remember the name of these pumpkins, but I'll have to look. They have like a gray skin, and the inside flesh is super dark and orange. Almost reminds me of a cantaloupe. I thought they would be really pretty if they're ready for the fall time, and they were just so big. Let me zoom into this one. They were so big for the seed trays that they were in, so I wanted to transplant them. The same day that we transplanted watermelon, I put these in the ground, and they have grown a lot more since I got them in the ground. So I have it caged off here just because we haven't figured out how we're gonna keep wildlife away from the pumpkin plants. So we had this extra little pet hutch here I put around to protect these, hopefully from like deers or rabbits. So I have 3 little areas of planted pumpkin here, and we're mulching with grass clippings again, because eventually we will have to remove that cage, and then the pumpkins will have all this space and this whole yard back here to spread around and grow as much as they want, and hopefully nothing gets to them. We were thinking maybe we should get some deer netting or some like type of cheap material. We're not going to fence this with electric like we did our vegetable garden, but maybe some deer netting or a lightweight type of fence that we can cover them if we do notice the deer getting closer and closer, because this is out in the open right next to the forest. There's really no protection. So this is the other spot that we planted watermelon. Oh, not watermelon, pumpkin. So this will be our little pumpkin patch. I'm going to head over, hopefully it's not too loud, but I'm going to head over to the front of the property where we have the flower garden going. Everything has been doing good in there. For a while we didn't have any slugs in those raised boxes, but I have noticed a little bit of damage every now and then on the same thing, the Italian kale. So the rest of the transplants that I had of those left, I decided to plant them in the flower garden instead of the vegetable garden to see if we'd have less slug problems or caterpillar problems, which has been true. There hasn't been that many holes and things that I've noticed in the flower garden, just because we did line those boxes with cardboard at the bottom, and we have lots of sticks and leaves and grass clippings and then the soil on top. So I guess the bugs have to go through a lot more layers to get to our things that we're planting in there. But they have discovered it a little bit. So I did put some cinnamon in there. Also, I have sprayed with BT spray. That doesn't seem to be doing much, but I just recently sprayed again, as well as all the DE powder that we've been using, and it hasn't really been working. There might just be some plants that we just cannot plant until we get rid of the slug problem. So flower garden, right off the flower garden we have a volunteer pumpkin growing. This is just from the jack-o'-lanterns that we carved last fall. So we had thrown all the innards and stuff and the seeds in that pile. Surprisingly, it's even growing there because that's like a gravel pile next to it. But that's where it seems to be growing, so I'm gonna leave it there. This is one of the flower boxes. So this is kind of the stage that all the flower boxes are in right now. Everything's really small. Seeds are just now starting to germinate. Transplanted some marigolds in here, zinnias, sunflowers. And look how much better the kale is doing in here. Like, it has some leaves that have been bitten, but they look a lot healthier. I did not label what all I planted in the flower gardens, just basically sprinkled seeds and have been transplanting things. This is a nasturtium, and then little clusters like this is just seeds that I sprinkled in here. I know for sure this is our wildflower box. And then I transplanted some marigolds. Yeah, and the rest, I have no idea. But everything is growing in here. Some might be weeds, but a lot of this should be seeds that I just went ahead and sprinkled in here. These were the lupins that we grew from seed and transplanted. They have been doing really good. Next to that, I direct sowed some larkspur. These seeds I brought from Florida. It's like a mix of purple, pink, light blue. I'm not sure what other colors, but they're really pretty flowers, and I enjoyed growing them in Florida, so I made sure to bring some seeds with me and some other things that I have transplanted over time. My neighbor brought me some lilies, I believe she said these were, so I'm going to transplant these into the garden as well. And I transplanted a bee balm plant that she brought me. And then there's some other things in there. This box was sunflowers, some cilantro, thyme. I transplanted all my thyme plants. This box I planted our mint plant because it was getting way too big for the pot, so I put it in here. I don't really mind if the mint spreads all around because we like to eat mint a lot and make like mint lemonades and things like that. So we keep the plant in order. So in every flower box we have something growing. It's really just a mix of all the same things or just seeds that I tossed in here. Over here is the last couple boxes that I have. These are the poppies. And then we have some more sunflowers, some more little kales every now and then. Just all of the rest of the dinosaur kale that I had. I wanted to try planting them in here before attempting to put them in the other garden to get immediately eaten by the bugs. More stuff in here and in here. Even in the one back there, there's a couple things planted. And these are our rhubarb. I've already harvested rhubarb twice. I made strawberry rhubarb jam, and I'm freezing extra rhubarb because I'd like to make just a plain rhubarb jam without any strawberry added to it. By this old rake, I planted some cucumber seeds, just 3 little spots here because I wanted some cucumbers to grow here. These would be the pickling cucumbers. And I thought it would be cool if they even started climbing the rake as well. So I'll encourage them to do that. We're saving some more grass clippings here just to help keep the weeds down in the flower garden area. Our raspberries, as you can see, have been filling out nicely and they're starting to flower. Here's the little trail that I had made right cutting through the raspberry bushes. So it's looking just like how I imagined. Once they fill out a little bit more, you can like walk right through here and enter the flower garden maze. So I can't wait till everything is fully grown and in bloom. Everything looks so different already. Up here is a crab apple tree. Crab apple tree is blooming. Then in the front, I'm not sure the type of apple. It's not a crab apple, it's an actual eating apple. I remember trying them last year. It hasn't really started flowering yet, but it's filling out with leaves right now. Then we have this really pretty lilac tree or lilac bush. I was excited to see how that one would look, and it looks very pretty. Have our little farm stand up here. I think by end of July we're gonna have the actual garage open as our farm stand, so that's something to look forward to. It'll give us a chance to have some vegetables to harvest for the farm stand and maybe have our first batch of chickens ready so we could put in a freezer in there. Here we have this beautiful garden on the side of the house. We have hostas. They told me, the previous owner told me these were some type of geraniums. So those are gonna flower eventually. We have forget-me-nots. And over here, oh, I also made some cucumber hanging baskets, waiting for those to germinate. I think those are gonna be really pretty. Once they're fully grown. It's more of the pickling cucumbers. I was told that this is possibly mallow, which is also a type of flower. I've never actually seen one, but we have peonies also. So these are, I'm really excited to see what the flowers look like. They look like they're getting there. I'm not sure what these are. I know they're not zinnias. They remind me a lot of zinnias though. So I've been leaving them just to see if they do produce some type of flower. That's pretty cool that we have a little bit of everything here on the side of the house also. But that is what everything is looking like so far. We're very excited to get our season going here. and we have enjoyed all of the wild things growing so much. All of the wildflowers that were on the lawn, the dandelions, the violets, all of it was so pretty. But now it's time to start mowing, keeping our grass nice and short, with the exception of the chicken area, of course, because the chickens are going to get all that fresh grass to enjoy once they get moved to the pasture. Something else new is we finally started listing our RV hookup site. So that is currently open. I put it on Hip Camp. I put it on one called Dirt. It's I believe it's called Dirt, D-Y-R-T. I'll add a correction in the description if that's wrong, but I believe that's what it's called. And I also signed up for Harvest Host. I haven't finished that listing yet, but Harvest Host is one where boondockers are welcome to come and stay on the property as well, with no connections. But our listing on Hip Camp and the Dirt one does include electric, septic, and water. We have a water hose that we can run for a source of water as well. And this would be the view for the RV camping site. And we have all of this open fields, which will eventually be our orchard. But we also have all the wooded area in the back. We have about 9 acres of wooded land. We have 16 acres altogether, so plenty of space to roam around. And if anyone is interested in foraging or just hiking in the backwoods, it's a really nice thing to do, and I love doing it myself, hiking and foraging right in our own land in the back of the property. It's so different back there, and it's so big. But I thought that would be a neat way to share our property with others and make a little bit of cash too. We're only pricing it at $25 per day, and that includes everything except for Wi-Fi. We don't have Wi-Fi, but that includes the electricity, being connected to our septic, which is somewhere back here, and then also the water, plus having all these beautiful views. And we get wildlife here, deer, turkeys. People will be able to see our gardens growing in full action, our meat chickens being raised. If they want to support us, they can also shop from our farm store, which will be open in late summer, our official farm store, or our temporary roadside stand as well. But that is all the updates. So many things going on all at once. It's hard to really stay consistent on YouTube, but I am trying my best to keep you updated on everything. I'll continue to post videos and any new projects that we're working on, and updates on how our garden and plants are doing. Hope you guys enjoyed, and look how different it looks now that it is, I don't even think it's officially summertime, but I think it's still spring. But just look how everything has turned so green and pretty. All the trees have filled out, and any of the fruit trees are flowering as well. But anyway, I hope you guys are doing good. Have an amazing weekend. I'll see you guys in the next video.